She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them and that Eric was going to take the kids from her and that his family was going to turn the community against her. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
Chilling words from the witness stand. A former friend says Kouri Richins once told that her life would be better if her husband were dead. This was just months before prosecutors alleged that she poisoned him. So how could the defendant's friends tip the scales for the children's book author? Plus, Savannah Guthrie back at the Today Show studio for the first time since her mother Nancy's disappearance. The reunion, the reaction, and the questions still unanswered. Also, we are spotlighting our newest trial, the reluctant victim assault trial. A woman allegedly slashed her husband's throat in self-defense after years of abuse. It's all next, right here on Opening Statements. And welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Kelly Craft, in today for Julie Grant. Just like in an actual trial, we are getting you ready for what's ahead in court. And it's time for your daily docket.
At first, when I was talking to her, she appeared erratic, as you stated. Obviously, we didn't know the nature of the call, so that's when I asked her if she's covered head to toe in blood, if it was her blood, because if she needed medical assistance, I have to provide her medical assistance.
I see, I appreciate that. I want to ask you some questions about her emotional state as you perceived it that morning. When you characterized her, you characterized her as erratic, didn't you? That's not my word. I'm borrowing the word you used to describe her because you wrote a report, yes?
Yes.
And when you described her as erratic, would it be fair to say she was difficult to communicate with?
Yes, sir.
In Massachusetts, the assault trial of Lucy Medina resumes with closing arguments. We will get you all caught up on key testimony. That's starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. In Michigan, we are on verdict watch. This is in the murder trial against Dale Warner. Jury deliberations there resume at 9 a.m. Eastern. Also in Utah, court is dark today in the murder trial of Kouri Richins. Testimony will pick back up on Monday morning. And that's where we begin this Friday morning. Former friends of the defendant took the stand, describing a troubled marriage between Kouri and her husband and recalling unsettling conversations they say they had with her before his death.
Was there a topic of conversation that came up related to Kouri Richins' marriage?
Yes.
What did Kouri say to you?
Kouri had an opportunity to go to a work event of some sort, like a Christmas gala, something like that. And it was going to be a really good opportunity for her career. She was excited about it. At the same time, Eric had booked a sleigh ride with the family for Christmas, a good family activity, and they had a scheduling conflict, and they did not agree about what they should do for that scheduling conflict.
What else did Kouri say during that conversation about her marriage with Eric?
She talked about how she was feeling trapped. She was feeling like there wasn't an easy way forward out of the marriage. She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them and that Eric was going to take the kids from her and that his family was going to turn the community against her. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
And this part, I swear she said it, but I also feel like if you put me on the stand, I would not be confident enough to actually truly know if she said it, but I swear she said in many ways it would be better if he just died.
Is that your voice?
That is my voice.
All right. And you did say that you wouldn't be able to swear to it on the stand, didn't you?
I wouldn't be confident in that, yes.
Okay.
Have you ever observed Eric sick or injured?
No.
Have you ever seen him use over-the-counter drugs?
No.
Have you ever seen him use prescription drugs?
No.
Have you ever seen him use illicit drugs?
No.
Have you ever observed any indication that Eric use drugs?
No.
Do you recall receiving a phone call from Eric Richins at about 2:11 p.m. on Valentine's Day 2022?
I do.
Without saying what Eric said to you, why is it you remember that phone call?
It was notable, I think, for a couple of reasons, but the main reason was just, well, the topics of the things we talked about, but also the emotion, I guess. It was unlike any other conversation I'd had with Eric. Mostly just kind of his spirits felt almost like somber, and anybody that knows Eric, most of the time you would call and he would already be talking upbeat, you know, and this one was a lot different.
Ma'am, were you present at the Richins residence 2 days after Eric's death on March the 6th, 2022?
Yes, I was.
And did there come a time when Kouri Richins was very upset and you went to console her?
Yes.
Why was she upset?
She got in an argument with her sister-in-law.
Did the argument also involve the home?
Yes, the sister-in-law had told Kouri that the house was no longer hers and it belonged to the other sister because she was in charge of everything.
How did Kouri Richins react to learning that?
She was very upset.
How upset?
Crying. I mean, pretty upset.
Did she collapse?
Yeah.
Was she hysterical?
Yeah. She just said she couldn't believe this was all happening.
Here to discuss this morning, attorneys David Bruno and Randolph Rice. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us on this Friday morning. Okay, let's talk about this case, and in particular, we were playing some clips from some of Kouri's friends who were on the stand, and they were kind of flipping against their friend Kouri. We did hear from one of the victim's friends as well. David, let me start with you. What is your reaction to that testimony that we heard?
Yeah, it's strong testimony for the prosecutor. I mean, they have laid out motive evidence stronger than really I've ever seen, with the financials and the affair and all of the reasons to excise him from her life. And now you're putting that personal perspective to this. And not only individuals that knew her, but were friends with her, right? So typically speaking, when there's a bias or a friendship, there's reason to lie on behalf of the defendant. And now obviously they're coming forward for the prosecutor to corroborate a lot of the evidence the prosecutors are arguing.
Randolph, what do you make of the one friend, the female friend that was on the stand, that they played a recording of her saying she would not be confident to say that on the stand? Then she went and testified to the fact that she believes that Kouri had said that it would be better if her husband was dead. How do you think something like that sits with the jury? Because on one hand, you heard her say, I'm not really sure she said it, but then on the stand, she's saying, yeah, okay, maybe, yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, good morning. And this is really icing on the cake, these three witnesses that we just saw from. But this can also be dangerous. And I think that it was a little bit dangerous calling that female friend who had that conversation with her because they had the contradictory statements that she made under oath previously that were recorded. So the jury may just take this and say, this is a wash. We really don't know. She's not that she's not telling the truth, but maybe she just can't remember exactly because she said differently before than she's saying here today.
David, let me ask you this. So when the defense is preparing for trial and they're talking about this idea, and we've heard it throughout so far, that maybe he ingested, the victim ingested these drugs himself. So how did the drugs get inside him? Well, we heard it from a friend in that clip that we put together. We heard from one of his friends who said he never once saw the victim take any sort of drugs. How do you think that works?
Well, there's a couple things that the defense has. Number one, there's the metabolite in his system that is an inference that he had it prior, right? That's number one. Number two, there's gummies all over the house. So that is the start of, the use. And then finally, the lack of investigation at the crime scene that the defendant's team has really been hammering home. The fact that they didn't take the bottle of oxycodone, the fact that they didn't test the various different glasses and things in the house on a toxicological issue. So I think that is where the defense needs to go, and then discredit the distributors. And then that final friend that we're talking about, that inconsistent statement, is important for the defense to show that, look, the prosecutor's trying to stretch these witnesses a little too much, and it may even give them an argument on the drug dealers.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And Randolph, we did hear some testimony regarding the fact that Kouri, the defendant in this case, was upset at one point because she claims that her husband had put some of those gummies that David was talking about in her suitcase. And then I guess they joked about it because he thought it was funny that he had done that. So that kind of testimony has been, exhibited in court. How does that sit?
Yeah, I mean, the gummies certainly complicate this for the prosecution because it does introduce the fact that there is something else going on. For example, this last testimony that we heard, the clip from the friend saying, I've never seen him ingest anything that was illicit or was illegal or was not prescribed. Well, that flies in the face of what the evidence has been so far, that there were gummies present. So again, these last three witnesses that we just saw from, this was a bit of a risk for the prosecution to call them because there is some contradictory evidence to their testimony.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But again, court dark today there in Park City, Utah. Gentlemen, thank you. They're going to stick around. Coming up on opening statements, we're going to turn to the search for Nancy Guthrie.
I firmly believe someone out there knows something. Someone out there saw something, heard something. We need that person to call us.
Has there been any evidence so far that Nancy is still alive, or is it just hope of investigators and the family?
There's been no evidence that she's not.
Savannah Guthrie is seen for the first time at the Today Show studio since her mother's disappearance. Plus, Lucy Medina is charged with attacking her husband with a knife. But both she and the alleged victim say that she acted in self-defense. We are taking a closer look at the reluctant victim assault trial.
On Court TV.
I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. We have a big hour ahead here.
Your deplorable actions are unforgivable.
The community still doesn't know how this Boston police officer died.
He can't prove one element of his case. It was a dramatic day, a dramatic moment inside the courtroom.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
We saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime. We know she didn't just walk out of there. She did not leave on her own. Nancy Guthrie is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack, and we're asking the community's help.
Now for what's trending in true crime. Savannah Guthrie visited the Today Show studio for the first time since her mother Nancy was kidnapped. The photos show Guthrie greeting people on the set in New York, presumably her co-workers. She's been gone since her mother vanished in early February. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie has been missing since February 1st and still no break in the case. Here's Savannah's latest plea to the kidnappers.
Hi there. I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then of worrying about her and fearing for her and aching for her, and most of all, just missing her, We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return, and we feel those prayers. Please keep praying without ceasing. We still believe. We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home. Hope against hope. As my sister says, we are blowing on the embers of hope. We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad and with her beloved brother Pierce and with our daddy. And if this is what is to be, then we will accept it. But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. For that reason, we are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery. All of the information about this reward and the details is in the caption below. You can call the 1-800-TIP line. You can be anonymous if you want. Someone out there knows something that can bring her home. Somebody knows. And we are begging you to please come forward now. We also know that we are not alone in our loss. We know there are millions of families that have suffered with this kind of uncertainty. And for that reason today, we also are donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for their work in helping families who are coping with loss and actively looking for those who are lost. We are hoping that the attention that has been given to our mom and our family will extend to all the families like ours who are in need and need prayers and need support. So please, if you hear this message, if you've been waiting and you haven't been sure, let this be your sign to please come forward, tell what you know, and help us bring our beloved mom home so that we can either celebrate a glorious, miraculous homecoming or celebrate the beautiful, brave, and courageous and noble life that she has lived. Please be the light in the dark. Thank you.
Savannah and her sister Annie and Annie's husband were seen visiting Guthrie's memorial a few days ago. Here to discuss, criminologist, author, and professor, Dr. Debbie Goodman, and trial attorneys Randolph Rice and David Bruno. Okay, Dr. Debbie Goodman, I want to start with you. Do you have a theory as to what took place here? I know when I talk with people want to talk about this situation. Everyone does seem to have a theory. You are an investigator of crime scenes. You have a lot of expertise in this area. What do you think happened here?
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning. I think that now that we're past the 1-month marker, I truly had 3 different theories. At the beginning, the first couple of days, yes, I was believing that this was indeed a ransom situation, at the heart of which would be some type of monetary incentive. I've now shifted more toward the belief that this individual or individuals are looking for media attention. They want the control, the power, authority. And then the last theory now that I'm more leaning toward at the 1-month mark is potentially some type of revenge against whom or what, still a mystery. But this is no coincidence, Kelly. This is a mature mother, grandmother whose daughter is very popular in the spotlight as a highly respected and recognized journalist. So I would still like to maintain hope. I believe hold on, pain ends, and we will have resolution to this case.
Okay, interesting thoughts. Dr. Goodman. Randolph, I'll bring you in on this. You know, something the doctor was talking about, you know, there's still some hope out there. Some people have. We heard Savannah talk about it. And even one of the main people there in that area has held a news conference talking about the fact that there's no evidence that she's not still alive. So no evidence that she's not still alive. Randolph, what are your thoughts?
And Kelly, that's a great point. I mean, there is no evidence here that she is either dead or alive. And this is certainly still a real possibility that she is alive. Now, certainly there are individuals out there who are going to say, look, she's 84 years or whatever, 80-something years old. She was having health issues. It doesn't make sense that she could be alive unless she had certain medication and care. But you know what? Under these circumstances and these facts, the fact that we have so many weird facts in this case, it's still one of the possibilities that she is still alive, that these people that took her kept her alive.
David, what are you thinking about this whole situation? It's been over a month, really not any kind of solid leads. Police have questioned a number of people in this case, but no one has been arrested. What are you thinking?
Yeah, cases like this of national importance are very difficult for investigators and prosecutors because there's so many questions, and we're in this technological boom too. TMZ has been reporting. Obviously, we're carrying this. Everybody has questions, but as investigators, it's difficult to provide information while also keeping the investigation close for the integrity of the investigation. So as we talk about hope and optimism, I hope that investigators know much more than everyone else does. I hope that they have the digital evidence that they're fine-tuning. I hope that they're working with the FBI and other federal agencies in advancing with technology leads that they have. And as a former homicide prosecutor running with teams of detectives, I believe that that's probably the case.
Yeah, well, I would hope so, David. That's a good point. Dr. Goodman, one of the recent developments, if you want to call it that. I mean, it is a big development, but nothing too substantial. But the fact that this backpack that they had, they said that it had been bought at Walmart, but there's been information recently that it's possible it was bought secondhand. So I know at first they were scouring Walmarts. Now we're thinking maybe it was bought secondhand. How do you think that helps this situation?
Well, I think, Kelly, every detail that is known to investigators is very important for a deep dive. So whether it's this backpack and from where did it originate, whether it's the this face covering, that's important, the shoes, the jacket, there's so much involved here, but we know that they are doing the very best that they can, and we have the best of the best investigators throughout the country at local, state, and federal levels. So everything is important of an evidence nature, and we also know the importance of DNA, genetic genealogy. So I really think that when we have a case of this magnitude, there will be resolution. It's just taking perhaps a little longer than what was initially anticipated. I do not think whatsoever that this is a cold case. We've had other abduction cases, Kelly, that the viewers are well versed on, to include successful outcomes of Elizabeth Smart, Amber Berry, Jamie Klaus, terrible abductions, and yet the successful outcome of their being alive and being well. And I hope that's Mrs. Guthrie's outcome.
Yes, we hope and pray that sometime soon there's some kind of resolution for the family. All right, everyone is sticking around. Thanks so much for your insights. Still ahead on opening statements, we are spotlighting our newest trial here at Court TV.
That night started well before that evening. It was 28 years in the making. It was an investment by her husband of power, control, and dominance.
A woman is accused of slashing her husband's throat. She's claiming self-defense, and her husband allegedly is agreeing with her. And we take a closer look at Kouri Richins' friend on the stand, the chilling conversation they had before her husband died. Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Kelly Craft. This morning, our spotlight is on the reluctant victim assault trial. This one is taking place in Massachusetts. And as we wait for closing arguments to begin, we want to get you caught up on this case. Lucy Medina is charged with slashing her husband's throat with a knife. But she claims that she acted in self-defense after years of suffering abuse at his hands, and that it would appear her husband doesn't deny this abuse. But according to the defense, Luis Medina has never given his account of what exactly took place that night. Let's listen to some of her interview with the police.
Yeah. I hope so. I tell you if he was dead, I'm hoping he lived. I don't know.
If he dies, you might as well shoot me right now because I can't live with it. We're not gonna live with it.
Let's hope for the best.
Okay, I'm home from my daughter or his family or my mom.
And why did you stab him?
Because he cheated me. He did me.
He cheated on you?
He hit me so many times.
He hit you? Tell me about that. So what happened?
We were arguing.
Okay.
About him comparing my kids to his.
Oh, okay.
And I got very offensive about that. He was like, you gotta have kids. I'm not different than his kid behaves.
Okay. And then what happened?
Next thing I know is that, honest to God, the next thing I remember is him hitting me, like punching me. And then we had a candle on the table. And I threw the candle to defend myself. And he kept hitting me. And then I went to the kitchen and I grabbed a knife. Oh my God.
Where did he hit you?
I don't know, please. I don't even know.
Do you have any injuries from where he hit you?
I don't know. I think he hit me in my face. I don't know. The next thing I remember was me trying to say, no, you're not making it.
What happened?
That's what I don't know. I just had to walk away and go upstairs and just let it be. Let it be. Just forget about it. It doesn't matter. Whatever you say is fine. Just let it be.
Luis Medina suffers from alcoholism and says he does not remember what happened, but in a letter to the court, he blames himself for the attack. Let's sort all of this out with criminologist, I'm having trouble saying that, Dr. Debbie Goodman and attorney David Bruno. Okay, doctor, I'm going to start with you. We were listening to that police interview, and she's trying to explain what took place, talking about him hitting her. What are you taking away from this situation so far?
Certainly, so far, Kelly, I think that she appears genuine. She appears distraught. Now, technically, do we look at the crime at hand, an assault with a deadly weapon? What was her intent? Did she intend to kill him? But yet, it's such an unusual case whereby we have a victim, her husband, who doesn't even want any charges to be brought against her, who doesn't want her to face penalty, and who is even admitting to the years of abuse. So I do think potentially that a jury is going to find this to be a sympathetic, empathetic matter. They may, in fact, yield on the side of Miss Medina, Lucy, and perhaps she won't get severe penalty.
David, when we're talking about the legal standard here that prosecutors have to meet, she is allowed to take reasonable measures to defend herself, but she can't do more than what's necessary. Did she have an opportunity to do something different? Could she have left the situation? What are you taking away from this so far? And also in regard to the fact that he himself, the victim, is asking for this not even to happen, that she shouldn't even be prosecuted.
Yeah, this is a self-defense case, and it requires the defendant to show a reasonable belief of imminent harm, as well as proportional force. Right, so those are the elements that we're talking about here. So reasonable is two standards. It's a subjective, what did she actually believe in that moment, and then the objective the jury will have to consider what was reasonable given the 28 years of abuse. That is what the defense is trying to roll out, these photographs, these prior incidents and things like that. And that's where the defendant can make headway. Because when it gets to the jury, don't forget, proof beyond a reasonable doubt standard. So the defendant gets various different benefits of that standard, and then showing the prior abuse is different than just a sporadic sort of attack. So that all does become relevant in the self-defense standard that they have to apply.
Dr. Goodman, alcohol has been talked about in this case, him suffering from alcoholism. Also, there's information that she also was drinking that day. How do you think alcohol plays into this case?
Well, it'll play a role, Kelly, but how significant will it be? I think the overarching issue here is this prolonged issue of family discord and disharmony, whereby our defendant apparently has endured years of abuse. And yes, PTSD is real, and we know there are thousands of cases that take place annually regarding domestic violence. I generally don't like to look at alcohol or drugs in terms of any type of mitigating issue, because the bottom line is, does the individual know what he or she is doing? Do they know what he or she is doing is wrong? But the caveat here is, was Mrs. Medina actually defending her life, or was it still just this prolonged years of abuse, and it was almost like, that's it, that's enough, and she needed to defend herself?
David, there were no witnesses other than Mr. and Mrs. Medina. They were the only ones there present. We have had some of her co-workers come to the stand and say things like she would be sent flowers to work constantly. She would show up with bruises. She wouldn't be very happy about the flowers coming to her office. The fact that there are no other witnesses, do you think that plays into this?
Well, actually, that strengthens this defense, honestly, because that's the cycle of domestic violence. That's what we see in these domestic violence cases when they do have incidents like that. And then there's a honeymoon phase, there's an apology, and then it goes round and round. Domestic violence prosecutors have to deal with that regularly. They have reluctant victims that come forward and say they don't want to prosecute. Prosecutors have to make and evaluate those cases based on the strength of what they can prove. And that's what the prosecutor decided here. They're moving forward on forensics. There's blood spatter. There's all kinds of different forensic pieces of evidence from the house, and then the defendant's statement, which they're really relying on, hoping the jury will go their way.
David, thank you. Thanks as always for joining us on this Friday. Have a great weekend. Dr. Goodman is sticking around. And coming up next, will defendant Kouri Richins' friend tip the scales of justice? The chilling conversation the two had right before her husband died.
She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them and that Eric was going to take the kids from her, and that his family was going to turn the community against her, and she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
You know the drill. We are gonna be there when it pops. Okay, get to it.
Those guys, they're the best.
We'll get this guy.
Together, like we always do. I think you'll be surprised what you're capable of. Connect me, focus. Here we go.
This is gonna be fun. Then let's get it on.
I kind of forgot how crazy things can get here.
I love this team.
Find Ion on your channel guide or favorite streaming service.
She met up with acquaintance 2 at a Maverick gas station in Draper and purchased from him 15 to 30 round green-blue pills, which she understood to be fentanyl.
1 or 2 pills might be accidental. 20 or 5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the trial of Kouri Richins. In court Thursday, we heard from Becky Lloyd, a friend of Kouri Richins, who revealed details under oath about a private conversation. Did it tip the scales?
Kouri Richins, do you know her?
I do.
And did you meet her around the same time?
Yeah.
In 2021, what was the nature of your relationship with Kouri Richins?
I knew her as a neighbor. I knew her as the mother to my children's friends, and I knew her as my own friend.
I want to turn your attention to December of 2021. Was there a conversation that you had with Kouri Richins in December of 2021 that stood out to you?
Yes.
What was the date of that conversation?
December 17th of 2021.
That's a specific date. Why do you remember that date?
Because I keep a journal and I have photos from that date.
What were you doing that day?
We were doing a Secret Santa gift wrap for C&E Stone. We get presents for families in the neighborhood that don't get a good Christmas, and we were wrapping them to give away.
Now, when you say we, was that, who's the we?
Me and Kouri.
Okay, just the two of you then?
Just the two of us while we were wrapping, yeah.
Was there a topic of conversation that came up related to Kouri Richins' marriage?
Yes.
How did that come up?
I had recently gotten divorced a couple months before, 3 months before, and she was asking me how that was going, and I was asking her about how her marriage was going, and her and Eric had a fight that day, so it was definitely on the top of her mind.
What did Kouri say to you?
Kouri had an opportunity to go to a work event of some sort, like a Christmas gala, something like that. And it was going to be a really good opportunity for her career. She was excited about it. At the same time, Eric had booked a sleigh ride with the family for Christmas, a good family activity, and they had a scheduling conflict, and they did not agree about what they should do for that scheduling conflict.
What else did Kouri say during that conversation about her marriage with Eric?
She talked about how she was feeling trapped. She was feeling like there wasn't an easy way forward out of the marriage. She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them, and that Eric was going to take the kids from her, and that his family was going to turn the community against her. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
What was the tone of Kouri's voice during that conversation?
It was serious. She definitely had a very serious tone. We weren't really joking. It was a very honest conversation and a very heartfelt conversation. And you could tell from her body language that, she was frustrated and she was struggling with where she was at. It was a serious tone.
What was your reaction to Kouri saying it would be better if Eric were dead?
To me, it really signified just how far their marriage was off track and how serious the situation was, and I felt bad for both of them.
Here with me to discuss is Dr. Debbie Goodman and trial attorney Randolph Rice. Okay, Dr. Goodman, I'm going to start with you. One of the things that I've taken away from watching Kouri is that when people are testifying, some of her facial reactions, when she is looking at her friend, telling this story, it's as if I don't know really what to make of it, but interesting facial expressions from Kouri. What do you think?
Yes, I agree, Kelly. Very interesting facial expressions and the whole story. You know, the irony for me, and I'm sure many others, is the fact that this defendant is a storyteller. So she has written a story about grief and bereavement. But now what has to happen, of course, in any murder case is whose story do we believe? Do we believe Kouri as she's sitting there? Are we looking at her and her expressions as potentially a young widow who was doing the best she can to raise 3 children? And are we looking at her as innocent? Or do we see the other side of the story, which is, in criminology, Kelly, when it comes to this type of crime, we call it mariticide, when a wife kills a husband, and we have something called disposal theory, whereby an individual will literally dispose of their spouse because there's financial issues, because there's infidelity, or they simply don't want to go down the route of life and a lifestyle with the individual.
Randolph, I'll bring you in on this. So when we heard the friend talk about saying that Kouri said it would probably be better if he was dead. Okay, how do you work with that? You know, there are lots of people that have conversations with their friends, and they think, well, I'm amongst friends here. Maybe I'm going to say some things. I'm having some trouble in my relationship. I mean, she's not the first person to say something like that about her significant other. And it doesn't mean they killed that person.
And Kelly, you're exactly right. I mean, people say things sort of off the cuff or in a joking manner. And what the defense had to do is they had to come back and attack that credibility of this witness and say, first off, you obviously said something different in prior statements. But 2 is you need to put this in context, because outside of context, any statement can be twisted and turned for your own benefit. So changing the context, saying, well, was this joking? Were you having cocktails? Were you just laughing about this? Those are the types of things that the defense can lay underneath this to put doubt or cast doubt in the eyes of the jury that this was just girls joking while they were wrapping presents.
You know, Dr. Goodman, you mentioned the book. I read the book. I've taken a look at that book. I mean, it's really just hard to wrap your head around this idea that someone kills their spouse and they have small children, and then they write a book as to how to deal with that loss. Basically, the premise of the book is wherever you are, whatever you're doing in your life as a first grader, second grader, your dad is here. He really is here seeing you. It's hard to think someone like that did write that book and also killed him.
Correct, Kelly, but again, it just depends on which narrative do we choose to believe. Are we looking at her as this grieving wife who has lost a husband and now is writing this book to help other children navigate the grief and bereavement process? Or was this book written almost as a shield, as if to say, ladies and gentlemen, I am an author. I am somebody trying to help others. There's no way that I'm the one to kill my husband. So please don't see me in that light. But then, Kelly, we know the digital forensics, her searches, the potential of infidelity, the marital discord and disharmony. It really is perplexing, but there will be an outcome. And I think thus far, the forensics are weighing heavily.
Randolph, next week, we expect the defense to begin presenting a case. I know we don't have a lot of time left this morning in this hour. Would you want her, Kouri, to take the stand?
Yes, I think she has to at this point. There's so much evidence against her. This is her chance to get up there and set the record straight as to the way she sees this case.
Ooh, that would be something to look forward to. Well, I hope she does, because we all love hearing from defendants in cases. Dr. Goodman, Randolph Rice, thank you so much. That's going to do it for opening statements.